I'm going to do something unusual in this commentary. I'm going to deal explicitly with HIV and AIDS, something I haven't dealt with as frequently as possible because of our necessary preoccupation with ending immunity for sexual violence committed by United Nations peacekeeping personnel. I'm sure you know of that subject. Let me move to another. There are two aspects of HIV that I'd like to introduce. First, we've recently had the publication of the START study, which is Strategic Timing for Antiretroviral Treatment. A fascinating study that was stopped a year early because the results were so dramatic that it was necessary to introduce them into the mix immediately. The START study took something over 4,600 people, all of them HIV positive, all of them with pretty strong immune systems, and divided them in half. Half they started on treatment with the immune system still strong, and the other half they waited until the immune system had declined to a point coincident with many people in sub-Saharan Africa, and began the treatment at that lower level. And what did it show, as anyone might have predicted? It showed that there was a 53% decrease in disease and death if you start treatment early. That is to say, the moment you're HIV positive. This was a study conducted in over 200 sites in 35 countries. It is immensely valuable and will clearly determine what happens hereafter. So the START study shows early treatment is immeasurably valuable. Why do I seem faintly agitated about it? Because I keep on thinking of all the lives that have been lost unnecessarily. You know, back in 2006, Dr. Julio Montaner, who is the head of the BC Centre of Excellence out in Vancouver, and who was the author of Treatment as Prevention, which as a medical intervention is now universally embraced across the world as a way of dealing with HIV and AIDS, he wrote an article for The Lancet in which he argued for early treatment intervention, and then over the intervening years demonstrated its authenticity. And a number of other studies did the same. We had to wait for this big study before we all agreed. Think of the lives that might have been saved if we dealt with early intervention, as Julio Montaner had indicated almost 10 years ago. It drives me crazy. The second thing that I wanted to make reference to was the emergence of a new pediatric formulation, which had the approval of the Federal Drug Administration just last week. A pediatric formulation which consists of oral tablets rather than that awful sour tasting syrup to which kids and infants were subjected. And you know, there are over 3 million children who are living with HIV now, and something like only 26% of them are in treatment. So this is a godsend. This is an extraordinary discovery. And it comes as a result of a kind of consortium of PEPFAR and the Clinton Health Access Initiative and the World Health Organization and something called Unitaid, but all of it driven by DNDi, the Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative. What a remarkable undertaking, a private-public partnership. I'm not big on private-public partnerships, but DNDi is exemplary. They've been the soul and the heart of the focus on a new pediatric formulation. They're doing it in conjunction with Cipla, the generic drug manufacturer in India. It is magnificent. There will be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of children's lives saved as a result of this remarkable outcome. I can't congratulate them sufficiently. So you can see that I'm looking this week with rose-colored glasses. But next week, after the Secretary General has announced his so-called independent and external review of the terrible events in the Central African Republic around sexual abuse of children, and an overall review of the way in which the United Nations deals with sexual exploitation and abuse, you will find that my glasses are no longer operative, and my tongue will be tinged with something other than rosewater. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.